G'day, it's Kieran from Fisherman's Loft. I just want to give you a quick rundown if you're heading out for a day's fishing on just some of the gear that you may need if you're going out. Okay, so the first thing you want is a good quality vest or backpack to store all your gear in. There's nothing worse than taking a bit of inferior gear out and it falls apart on the river. So some of the things that I have in my vest or my backpack, it'll include my layers for the day because we're not too sure what the weather could be doing. As we know in Canterbury, the weather can change on a dime, so you want to make sure that you're nice and comfortable out there so you can keep fishing for the rest of the day. So a lightweight rain jacket is always good, it's nice and light. A nice mid layer, whether that's a puffer jacket or a merino, something like that. A polypropylene or a sun sort of layer. The Sims do a very good Solarflex shirt because we have a very strong UV ray content in New Zealand, and that's going to keep us out more longer, and it's not going to cause any damage to our skin. So a nice wide brimmed hat or a hat, a nice buff to cover our face, long sleeve tops, long pants or thermals, and sun gloves as well. Not only will they provide you sandfly protection, they'll keep that sun away as well. So some of the other stuff that I'll have obviously is my rod and reel. You definitely need that, and spare tippet, whether we're chasing salmon or trout. Make sure that you've got a couple of different types of line just to adjust to the conditions. If you're fishing down in the river gut, something a bit more substantial if those fish want to turn and head back out to the sea, or if you're up in the high country in these low water conditions, a finer tippet so you can get a nice presentation. Generally in my backpack I'll have a range of lures, and luckily in New Zealand we're not trying to imitate too many different types of bait fish, so we can keep our range very simple. It's more about how to fish these bait fish patterns and whereabouts in the water we're going to be fishing them. If you're doing that, you're spending less time changing your lures and more time with your lure in the water. It's more productive that way, and you'll soon understand where the bait fish are migrating, moving through the river systems, and how the fish react to that. And that brings me to another point. If you're salmon fishing, one thing that we see a lot of anglers not taking out there is a hook file to sharpen hooks. If you're constantly bumping a zeddy down through a rapid, it's going to be in contact with those stones. We want to make sure we've got a nice sharp hook to, when we finally hook a salmon, that we get that hook stuck into the mouth and it's not going to shake it out. With the low water conditions at the moment, a lot of the rivers are getting quite slippery, so we want to be careful out there. The last thing anyone wants to do is slip over and hurt themselves. So it could be a good time to upgrade your boots and put some studs in there. Some tungsten studs will help cut through that sort of algae that's building up at the moment. Or if you're not a fan of studs, taking a wading staff, and that's something I do a lot. It just gives me that third point of contact as I'm crossing rivers all the time. Very handy for getting up and down banks if the knees aren't so good these days. Good quality Polaroids make a huge difference. Now there's different sort of quality of Polaroids. Most will have a basic sort of polarized filter, but then your higher end glasses will have UV filters as well, or they may have a better quality lens which is going to help you see fish longer. If you can't see fish, they're a lot harder to catch and a lot harder to understand how they're reacting to our presentations. So in my backpack or my vest, I've got to have enough food and water for the day. Now on hot days like today, you don't want to take chocolate and stuff like that, otherwise you're going to come back to a mess. I like taking a lot of beef jerky, nuts, protein bars, that sort of thing. And I'll take some initial water, but I'll also take a water filter. Yeah, just in the lower water conditions, you don't want to catch a stomach bug or anything like that. It'll ruin a good day's fishing very, very fast. Another thing that you've got to be aware of after a big day on the water is having water and food back at the car. I've had it myself where I've been out for a big day and was severely underhydrated and was crossing back across a tributary and cramps set in and I had to bounce my way across the river. It was quite a sort of dicey situation. So try and avoid that by just getting the salts back into your body. It'll make the journey a bit better. Make sure you've got a good quality net. And if you're going to take a fish, a nice sharp knife so you can process that fish quick. We use a lot of nets with a rubberized mesh bag, so if we're releasing the fish, we're not causing too much damage to it, and we always wet the net bag before we're putting that fish inside of it. And keep the fish in the water. You don't want to drag it back up onto the hot stones. It'll start damaging that nice sort of mucus layer over the fish. We want to make sure that this fish goes back in its best condition for the next angler to get the most out of it. Having good quality braid scissors when you're salmon fishing makes a big difference. Now braid scissors are slightly different from standard nippers, which will cut through mono. Braid scissors have fine serrations along them, and that helps grip the braid. Braid is quite slippery, and it just makes it a lot easier for tying knots and redoing those leaders for you. Now, one of the big things is being safe. You can't go fishing if you've hurt yourself, so a first aid kit is paramount. Make sure you've checked it just to make sure it's got everything that you may need, and also letting people know where you're going for the day. You don't need to post it all over social media, just tell your loved ones where you're going, the rough area, and a time that you're going to be back. So I always carry a PLB on me. I know a lot of people use a Garmin InReach because you can text those people if you're going to be late, and it saves people sort of freaking out if you're not coming back in a hurry. Pop into your local fishing store. They should be able to help with any sort of checklist that you may need, but proper preparation and planning prevent piss poor performance. Tight lines, everyone.